In this video, I'm going to be talking about real human bodies and real art made from them. For a variety of reasons, I can't and won't show you these pieces in full. But if you want to go seek them out, there will be names and references on screen. I leave the rest up to you. This is art, obviously. This is also art. Very different from the last piece maybe, but you're probably still with me. Okay, this one is sort of controversial, but I'll say it again. This is art. You don't have to agree, but I can at least feel okay thinking about it that way. This, is this art? Am I allowed to call it that? Well, maybe. Because in this case, it's not real. It's a scene from the movie Seven, where a serial killer themes each of his murders around the 7 deadly sins. These aren't crimes of passion, they're very intentional. He's trying to make a statement. He arranges each of his victims' bodies to reflect the sins he thinks they've committed in life. There's a sort of twisted poetry to it, a design. This is his magnum opus. Hopefully I don't need to tell you that I find his work hideous, disgusting, evil. It's art made of dead bodies, murdered for the cause. But for some reason, I feel compelled to say it anyway. If I called this sort of thing art without acknowledging and stressing the horror, the evil of it, I'd probably look insane. The only person who would do that would be the killer himself. There's plenty of art that's shocking or provocative or difficult to understand, but when it's made of human corpses, it isn't the same kind of controversial. If you kill someone to make an art exhibit, I think we can all agree that's bad. You just can't compare this stuff to minimalist sculpture or an avant-garde performance piece. Even when it's completely fictional, like in Seven, I get this sort of dissonance looking at it. It's repulsive. Just viewing it feels wrong. And yet, here I am, making a YouTube video about it. Flesh art is profane, grotesque. It's murder. And something more. I recognize it as art. I can see the craft here, the intent in self-expression. It's a body transformed into something else. Maybe when I showed you the banana or the Jackson Pollock earlier, you disagreed with me. Maybe you didn't think those were art. We all have different boundaries for what we're comfortable calling art. Disagreements of this kind are common. But this, it's different. Flesh art is the only form of art I can think of where almost everyone, regardless of their sensibilities, would struggle to call it art at all. Really quick, before the video starts, I just want to tell you about Foundry behind the machines. There is a lot that goes into making this show, and a lot you will probably never see. But our humans, bit by bit, have started to share that process. Sometimes they'll stream their research, long before a video ever makes it into the pipeline. Sometimes they'll make forum posts, brainstorming an idea. Thumbnails are one of the funnest things to work on here, and they do a lot of that too. And sometimes they'll just hang out and play games and stuff. It's all right there in our Discord server, available to anyone who supports Foundry anywhere. You could become a YouTube member, you could join our Patreon community, you could even subscribe right in Discord itself. All of them cost exactly the same amount and will get you access to anything and everything behind the machines. Foundry has always been about more than just video content. We make these videos to inspire and to be inspired. A big thanks to everyone who joins us in that process. We couldn't make this show without you. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Now, on to the video. The show Hannibal is full of flesh art. It constantly one-ups itself, each exhibition more macabre, more over-the-top, more unbelievable than the last. In the first season, we see a man's body fashioned into a fully functional cello. Later on, 2 corpses are arranged to recreate a scene from Botticelli's painting Primavera. One killer in the show makes an entire mural out of bodies, only to be added to it by Hannibal Lecter himself later. Whatever kind of art you can think of, this show finds a way to make it human. Like any good artwork, it's clearly left an impression on people. You'll find articles ranking the top 10 pieces of corpse art in the show. There are academic studies on how it references art and history and culture. Fans are still discussing their favorite pieces and even making tier lists. Which one is the best? Is it the human tree? The flesh angels? The meat Valentine? The flesh art is, dare I say, pretty fun to think about in this context. Interpreting it is like theory crafting or finding background Easter eggs. It's a form of active audience participation. Hannibal's fandom proves that in the right context, you can separate the art from the flesh and have a great time doing it. I think part of that fun is the deviance. We can look at all of these art pieces and have fun thinking about and analyzing them, but is it for the sake of the art? Or is it for the giddy sensation of indulging a little in how wrong all of this is? What would it look like if we set aside everything else and really treated this stuff like art? This isn't going to be the first time I've talked about BioShock on this show, or the second time, for that matter. If you're familiar with the game, you already know where I'm going with this. If you're not, well, this is the Quantic. And for a piece of art that, thankfully, doesn't exist in real life, I can confidently say I found it very impactful. In a game where all the characters are morally gray at best, the artist Sander Cohen is introduced as a dyed-in-the-wool psychopath. The Quantic, his masterpiece, consists of several plaster-coated corpses arranged in acrobatic poses. They hold 4 empty picture frames. That's where you, the player, come in. Cohen forces you to kill his doubters and photograph their bodies for his artwork. At the very least, he lets you take creative liberties. Your photographs and murders can be as artistic as you want them to be. This is a collaborative piece. The invitation is simple. See the vision here. Be part of it. Ignore all the evil for a moment and interpret this as a piece of art. That is clearly what Cohen wants from you. So what happens if you oblige? It's not immediately obvious, but the Quantic has an artistic context. Sander Cohen has a whole body of work within the BioShock games. You'll notice the hallmarks of his art style: rabbit masks, stark lighting, monochrome palettes, hyperviolence. The Quantic uses all of these motifs, making it the culmination of everything that defines Cohen as an artist. In every possible way, this piece is his identity. Its brutality is so deeply personal, it arguably works against him. Is it a monument to his artistic skill as he intended? Or does it immortalize his fragile ego and volatile pettiness? As art, it's self-expression, and it expresses a lot about its artist. I see the Quantic as a thought exercise. It's a challenge to interpret, a way to test the boundaries of what I'm comfortable calling art. But I have to say, talking about it this way seems irreverent. I can separate the art and the flesh here. Should I, though? Again, that question, am I even allowed to? And again, maybe this time, maybe here, it's okay. I can critique the Quantic and the corpse art from Hannibal in this way because, crucially, they are not real. You are allowed to interpret them. That's the point. Any ethical dilemmas here are purely hypothetical. These are exaggerated spectacles that could never exist in real life. They can be interesting psychological exercises or fun fandom discussions. As long as they don't exist in real life, it's possible to interface with them like this. In fiction, we can have flesh art. So, I'm going to hazard a guess here. We've been talking about fictional flesh art so far, but I doubt that's what you clicked on this video for. When you read flesh art in the thumbnail, you were probably expecting us to talk about some actual flesh art. I gave a warning at the beginning of this video, but I'm going to give you another one here. This is where it gets heavy. Throughout history, real people have made artwork out of real human bodies. You might be familiar with the Paris catacombs or the Sedlec ossuary. There have been so many instances of books bound in human skin, there's a term for it: anthropodermic bibliophagy. Even now, in our modern era, people are still making flesh art. There's a piece from 2000 called Lengua by Teresa Margolles, an artist and forensic specialist. It's a human tongue displayed in a museum case. It once belonged to an anonymous person who died in a street fight. Margolles intended Lengua to be a form of social activism, a commentary on class inequality in Mexico. She thought that as an art piece, the tongue could speak again for thousands of anonymous deaths. The Morgue, a 1992 photography series by Andres Serrano, depicts several corpses. There's one in particular I want to talk about. I found it especially unnerving because of how hidden it is. At first glance, it's hard to tell there's even a corpse in this photo at all. It looks to be a shot of someone's torso, bathed in soft lighting. The hands are positioned delicately over each other. It's easy to think that the subject is asleep or just posing, until you read the title: Rat Poison Suicide. The pose instantly takes on a new meaning. Unlike the Quantic or the Hannibal pieces, these works are real. They center actual bodies and they ask difficult questions. Who in society encounters death every day, and who has the privilege of viewing it safely through museum glass? Why is it so easy to romanticize certain kinds of death? Talking about these works isn't easy. Even when the artists acquire the bodies as ethically and legitimately as possible, just making flesh art raises a lot of concerns. The art turns a human being into a symbol. That tongue no longer belongs to an individual. It now speaks for thousands of deaths, and ultimately, for the artist. Rat Poison Suicide reduces its subject to a faceless body, a cause of death, and a visceral reaction from its audience. I can't tell you how to feel about these works or how to understand and evaluate them. I can't even actually show you them here. But I can tell you this. Separating the art from the flesh doesn't just feel dissonant to me here. It feels wrong. I don't think I can look at these solely through the lens of their artistic skill, their context, even their thematic substance. They aren't thought experiments. I couldn't rate these on a tier list. These aren't hypotheticals. They're the bodies of real people and all the gravity that comes with them. I can still see the art in each of these, but in reality, it's impossible to forget the flesh. Back at the beginning of the video, I mentioned Seven, that movie where the killer themes his crimes around the 7 deadly sins. Now, I need to tell you how it ends. Detective Mills and Somerset follow a trail of cryptic clues to catch the murderer. Each hint takes them to a different crime scene. An obese man face down in a bowl of pasta, the word gluttony written behind the fridge. A fashion model disfigured and left to die, representing pride. The detectives discover the pattern, finding familiar scenes labeled greed, sloth, and lust. That makes 5. Just as they're about to solve the case, the murderer, who goes by John Doe, turns himself in. He explains that his crimes are all one giant art piece. They're meant to set an example and send a message to society. In his view, he's condemning all the so-called deadly sins that people tolerate every day. If he wants to complete his masterpiece, he'll need to get caught. So he leads the detectives to a trailer out in the desert. They think they're prepared for anything until Doe presents them with a box. They open it, revealing the decapitated head of Detective Mills' wife inside. Doe coveted Mills' marriage, making him the sin of envy. With 6 out of the 7 deadly sins revealed, he urges Mills to shoot him. This is part of his design. If he dies, that makes Mills the embodiment of wrath, the final sin. Mills has every reason to do it. Doe killed 6 people, including his wife. He should fire the gun. but he struggles to pull the trigger. Shooting Doe would make him a participant in the art. Detective Somerset even tells him, if you kill him, he'll win. I've talked a lot so far about the dissonance of flesh art. The ending of 7 gets right to the heart of it. Whenever you view a piece of art, any art, you're reacting to it. You're having an emotional response and deciphering what it means to you. This is a urinal. Perhaps the most famous urinal in art history. Maybe the only famous urinal in art history. After everything I've put you through in this video, this is a pleasant break, isn't it? This is where the bar for pleasant is at now. You're welcome. In 1917, artist Marcel Duchamp submitted this particular urine to an exhibition. He titled it Fountain. He purchased it, already manufactured, and called it art. This raised a lot of questions, many of which are still hotly debated in the art world today. What gets to be called art? Is something art just because you consider it to be? Is calling something art really all it takes to be an artist? Fast forward to 2000, when a pair of performance artists went to the Tate Museum and attempted to urinate into Fountain. As you'd expect, they were banned from the museum. It's easy to see what they were trying to do. They were making a statement. And ironically, the museum's response validated it. It suggested that Fountain wasn't a urinal, even if that's what it was manufactured to be. Their response positions it firmly within the realm of art, at least to them. I think those artists were doing exactly what Detective Mills was so afraid of, in a way. They created a dialogue with the art, transforming it through a new perspective. They interacted with it and gave it another layer of meaning. Art needs an artist to exist, of course, but it needs an audience, too. When Detective Mills shoots John Doe, he becomes the last deadly sin. When you take photos for the quad tick, it's as much your work as it is Sander Cohen's. When you look at a piece like Lengua or Rat Poison Suicide, it's not the piece that asks all those difficult questions. It's you. Art starts to impact you from the moment you observe it. Beyond the idea of murder, beyond the defiled flesh, I think that's what makes flesh art so uniquely disturbing. As with all art, you're complicit in its existence, whether you want to be or not. There's not a lot I can say objectively about art. It doesn't lend itself to those kinds of statements. But flesh art, it almost speaks for itself. Almost. As objectively immoral as this stuff can be, and especially in the fiction often is, it's still art. Maybe murder is wrong. Maybe defiling a corpse is wrong. But art, even at these extremes, art is neutral. It reflects its creator and its audience. On its own, it isn't good or bad. At the end of the day, art is self-expression, and there are endless things it can express. It can reflect every facet of humanity, from the inspiring and beautiful to the downright vile. Flesh art is just the most disturbing, visceral, uncomfortable realization of all that. There's a lot of uncomfortable art out there. It isn't always pure or enlightening. I get how tempting it is to reject that kind of art, the baffling, the morbid, the sickening. But I also think, in a way, it's sort of futile. Every response you may have to a work of art, even a rejection, is still a response. You're still part of its creation, of its dialogue. Your perspective shapes its meaning and the power that it has. The quad tick, Hannibal's corpse sculptures, the 7 deadly sins, it's difficult to call this stuff art. It does feel dissonant and wrong. But at the same time, what else could they possibly be? Okay, I'm no stranger to talking about some really heavy stuff, but full transparency here, this one was tough, even for me. I really believe that these uncomfortable topics are important to talk about, but sometimes I need to step away to process it all. Usually that means doing something a little less emotionally taxing and a little more cerebral. Solving puzzles or doing math problems, balancing all this emotional media with something a little more grounded. So, between binging episodes of Hannibal, I've been learning to program. You'd think this stuff would come naturally to a robot, but to be honest, it was never really my strong suit. Now I'm actually using Python. And after looking at all of this flesh art for weeks and weeks, I have to say, this is weirdly relaxing. I think a huge part of that is just where I've been doing it. All of these clips I've been showing you, they're from an app you may have heard of before. An app called Brilliant, designed exactly for this kind of learning. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, you can start at your own level and work at your own pace. 5 to 10 minutes a day, whenever you have a little spare time. It's like a real, legitimate education right there on your phone or on your computer. So give it a try and visit brilliant.org/TaleFoundry or scan the QR code on screen. There's literally zero risk because with our link, you'll get your first 30 days of Brilliant totally free. Even if it turns out not to be for you, you can just cancel, never spend a dime, and walk away with everything you've learned. A whole month of education free. And if you want to keep going once you get started, that same link will net you 20% off an annual subscription. Again, that's brilliant.org/TaleFoundry for the first 30 days free and 20% off your subscription. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description to get started. Anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next week. Bye.